I have 100 hours in this game now, and I feel like it's time that I give my opinion on how to help people climb and start giving back to the community because you guys have given me so much already. So I thought let's do one tip for each rank, maybe a couple more little dabbled in there if I can. But until then, just enjoy the background gameplay and let's do it. Also, for everything above GM, because I can't have much opinion on that yet, I decided to reach out to one of the top 100 players, Canny. He has been a member of the community, and I thought I would get his opinion for everything else because he knows better than I do. So here we go. If you are in bronze, take your time. Learn the characters. You're in the feeling out process of this game. You don't even know if you like this game or not. You've just got enough to get into ranked, and you've probably picked one or two characters that you think, yeah, this feels good. Now is a great time to just feel everybody out. Find characters that you're willing to play with. You're going to end up getting in a lot of comps that don't make any sense. You're going to get 6 DPS. You're going to get maybe 1 tank and 5 healers because nobody wants to play DPS. Who knows? But listen, take the time. Find the character that you enjoy. Enjoy that little bit of chaos because from here on out, as soon as you start climbing, you're going to get a lot of abuse. You're going to get a lot of people shouting and a lot of people that don't know what the hell they're doing, but they're believing to themselves that they have it all figured out and they're ready to be top 500, yet they're in the same position as you. So just stay calm, find some characters that you like, and find out what you want your role in this game to be. At least the one that you want to main, because as we come back to, we're going to need to really stretch that out over the course of this game. For silver, I think a great idea, just to kind of help yourself, is start learning playing around your team. And by that I mean, stop staggering. Staggering is the biggest thing that I see, even up past platinum, sometimes even diamond, where games can just be completely thrown away because people are going in one at a time. So, how do you stop it? Well, the best way I've found is either making that call, using the ping button, where you can change in your settings. You can go over to, I believe it is the UI settings, and you can make your dial into 8, and I highly recommend doing that because it really helps over just the normal 4, that you can make a few more calls if you don't want to use the mic, such as, I can use my alt, or fall back and group up on me are the two that I usually find. And do yourself a favour, just add the thank you one. It's such a small detail, but when you start thanking people, they notice that. And they'll know it. You'll catch yourself off guard when someone thanks you in this game. It's incredible. So just do yourself that little favour. It'll keep the moral high. Do that. But put your settings on to have those things that you can make the call to group up. Plus, anytime you stagger or feed, you're just wasting time. And in this game, time management is just as important as the fights. Because a lot of it is going to come down to how can we play together as a team. If you have all 6, but for some reason someone's walked ahead in the other team, you're now going to roll them. But if you have one person walking ahead, dying, and you're now going into the next fight as a 5v6, you've already lost that fight 9 times out of 10. So learn to stop staggering. The best way, again, either make the call and actively do it, or wait for the rest of your team. If you see they're getting picked off on site, you're probably not going to get the site. It might be worth just stopping, holding, waiting for everybody else to come back, and then re-hit the site. Another big tip for silver I would say though is also learn when you are feeding. That is just as crucial. And it might sound a little similar to staggering, but feeding is a lot more, I'm playing out of position, I'm not doing things that's going to be like good for the team overall. And you're going to realise that you're dying maybe into the double digits before someone else in your team has died twice. Like, I'm finding that the more I play this game, the more I'm recognising that everybody should roughly be on the same deaths every time you push a site. So press tab or whatever it is on the PlayStation and Xbox options and just do yourself the favour. If you clock that you are dying so many more times, not necessarily that you are exactly the issue, but you can do something to help start preventing it. Really just engage with that idea that you don't have to be dying as much as you are. For gold, a big thing to start taking on board is ult management, i.e. checking when people on your team have ults and how am I going to play with them. How am I going to counter them? How am I going to see if a support is about to pop a Luna ult? Like, what do I need to do to sit and wait that out? Do I need to use my utility? Do I need to use ult charges on anybody? Because all you have to do is realistically wait it out there. Get the team together, get shielding, make sure that you're really timing stuff together. But then at the same time, if you have let's take a Groot ult, and all of a sudden a Moon Knight can combo with that, make that combo happen. You're going to climb out of gold in no time purely because of that one combo. But there's so many of these options, especially between the tanks and the DPS. A favourite of mine, I play Namor a lot. So it's trying to start recognising if they have an Adam on their team, he's going to have to ult soon. I'm going to hold my ult for when he tries to respawn everybody in at once. Or, using it more offensively, you can try and go for the Cloak and Dagger or the Luna by hitting it in the middle of Namor, but that's a big risk. So, was it better to use it there, or is it better to use it when the Strange decides to ult? And now we can go in while a lot of them are all stunned and wipe up, because that one ult has now double stunned them. It's a great way to do it. You've won a fight, you're then pushing onto site. So start thinking around, if there is more than one, what can I do? How can I use mine? Where can I go with this in order to progress the team? If I'm playing with a Cloak and Dagger, let's say, how can I use my defensive ult to take space? That is a big one to start looking at, especially with the support ults. Yeah, from there, just try and roll anything else that you have to be effective to the team, not just padding your stats. Platinum was my personal hell for the longest time, and as much as it pains me to say it, a big thing that a lot of people need to see is dropping ego. You're out of gold. That doesn't put you in the top 50% of this game yet, I believe. Like, there's still so many more ranks to go and to climb through, that yes, you might be above X amount of players, but realistically, you aren't even halfway through the ranks. It is an absolute nightmare of a place. So you need to take your time with that. You need to really sit with that for a minute and recognise if your teammates have ego, you're going to lose the game. Yes, you might be right in some calls, but in other calls it doesn't work because they can't see what you're doing. Another big thing for Plat that will really help you is learn positioning. And my best way to take this on board, in my opinion, start playing the other roles a lot more. And I don't just mean like, oh, I'm going to play Mantis for like 30 minutes. I mean, go a full day playing support. Recognise what they see in the middle of a game. That's if you're DPS. If you're a support, go tank. Learn how they're managing to take space. Figure out how to play aggressive and play forward so you understand for your role that you want to fill, how to play around each of the other roles. It's something that I never see people talking about, but the second that you start learning Strange and learn I should be pushing really far forward and trusting my supports can help me, as a support, I recognise how much I've got to take. I recognise that if my tank is pushing forward, I can tell him, by the way, you're now going into an area I cannot help you, pull back a little bit. You're going to play with them by learning how they can be played. And it's a very, very fun way to start playing the game, to be honest. For DPS, you're going to start recognising positions. Yes, they might be really beneficial to get a couple picks. But if you're getting caught off guard and then shouting at your healers, where's my heals? They can't even see you. They don't know where you are. But if you can recognise, okay, I can be in this spot, be hidden to the enemy, but also get damage off, while also getting heals if I get picked with a clean exit, that is going to do you more favours than you will ever recognise in this game, especially as we climb further up this table. So really focus on getting rid of any ego that you, or trying to talk your teammates out of it, because God knows you're going to get a Spider-Man that is 0-9, but for some reason is insistent I can do this as Spider-Man. Realistically, they're living Uncle Ben's fucking fantasy of making sure that they don't kill a single person, okay? Right? Let's swap that out. Let's get rid of it. I get you've learned this character and you've one-tricked your way here, but it's time to drop it. It's time to recognise you're not helping and you might be a problem if you can't play around your team. Speaking of, let's move into Diamond. Diamond is a very, very good place to start considering making a second account. Because you've already climbed, potentially with a one trick, but you've potentially climbed and really got yourself to a point where you are now, I believe, top 5% of the player base. That is phenomenal. That is great. Be proud of yourself. You've earned your spot here. However, it is very, very important that we now start recognising small details such as counterplay. Again, I play Namor mainly, and I recognised he is perfect for getting rid of a lot of people we consider a problem. Now that means that he is great for getting rid of any dive characters and any flying characters. That to me is perfect for how I want to play. I can play higher up, I can sit and recognise if a Magic, a Panther, a Spider-Man is going to dive at my team, I can get rid of him very quickly. If a Psylocke is flanking round, giving that little bit of support around my team really helps with the turrets, because now I can see they're getting flanked. I can comment early, I know to turn around, I know what I can do. Start recognising who counters who. If they're running triple heals, now's your time to start recognising it might be time to start looking at who to target more. If they're running one tank, yes, let's get rid of them, whether that's with a Wolverine or not. Let's be honest, you've got bans now, so it's going to be a little tough to get a Wolverine these days. But you see a Groot and a Thor, and if your mind doesn't go, we have a Wolverine free as a DPS, that's a problem. That's something you need to start looking at and being able to recognise, okay, what is the best that I can do? And if not, being willing to communicate to your team, what can we do to help each other? If a Panther is diving my backline and we have an option to help that, let's help that. If my tank is getting absolutely fondled, let's maybe help him with a second tank on shield or another healer. It's all about being willing to change and dropping this, I'm only this one role. We don't need to do that anymore. But again, the way to fix that is to now make that second account and let's play around with some characters. Let's figure out, don't worry about your rank as much anymore. You're worried about how do we get this character good enough so when I go to my main account, I now have a backup. I now know if I play tank and Strange isn't working, maybe we need to dive with a Cap or a Thor. You have a placeholder and then you have a playstyle. That's all you need to work your way through all of these ranks, is just having a little bit of adjusting room, some flexibility even, to make sure that you can help your team overall. GM is where it starts to get tough. My limits in GM are there. I recognise that's where I'm at just now, and we're going to work our way out of it, but here's the main bits that I have figured out. Don't become a liability with limiting yourself. Learn to start flexing different styles, even if it is on the one role. And it's kind of rolling back to what happens in Diamond, of you need to be able to switch, if you play tank, to second tanks. If you play DPS, to a second DPS. If you can play as support, to a second support. And I don't mean just having a backup, I mean being able to counter styles. That's where it's starting to get a bit more tough. Because what we are doing here is looking at metas coming in. We're looking at, again, the triple healer meta just now is absolutely killer. So it's recognising what is going on in that team and figuring out who are the key players. And if we can start doing that and recognising who's doing the most damage, how are they doing the most damage? Are their healers really impacting this game that we can't get any picks? Is their tank like stretching too much and taking all the space and we're not countering that? These are things that we need to start looking at. You need to think if a tank is pushing and pushing and pushing and it feels like you're getting snowballed and you're not able to get the triple healers, maybe it's time to put a Strange in between your tank and theirs. Start overcommitting that space, trying to get the heals to your tank so he stays alive obviously, but also letting him shield to cut off any of the other team's heals. That is a massive way to help start snowballing back. If you can recognise key players in the game that are being seriously problematic and you can learn who to get rid of, that is going to start changing your games instantly. And it's just taking that little bit of, just a little bit of time after a few pushes to kind of go, well, who is really making the impact here? Have they got a DPS Psylocke who is diving and getting our backline every time? Or our healers, are we able to help them by being a Loki, maybe giving them the little aura pool so that they never die? It's small changes like this which are going to start really impacting your games, because now every play becomes crucial to making sure you're taking or holding space. That is the big part of this game, so start using that. Now, for Eternity and Celestial and top 500, this is now out of my depth. However, like I said at the beginning of the video, we have a friend who is top 100. Shout out to Cami for coming through for this one. But he's been able to kind of give me a little bit of advice for this and help me expand into it as we chat about it. For Eternity and Celestial, he said the main tip for Celestial players is to learn as many characters as possible and start understanding how team comps work. And what he means by this is figuring out how the comp style is going to work. That's where we start looking into our teams a dive, a poke, or a brawl style. Because now that we have that ability to check, it means that we are really forcing whatever style we are playing to be played. We are countering whatever they are doing with that style. Now that means if they have the poke style, we want to really be diving into them to absolutely demolish them. We want to get them out the game, and you usually see this in a lot of the domination games. This is how you end up figuring out that you are now spawn trapping them. They just don't know how to get out of spawn, they don't know what to do, and realistically, even at this rank, you're going to start seeing people refusing to change because they know that they just need to do their best. And this is how this happens. We're not adjusting to the style of gameplay. And that makes things very, very tough to do. He's also added the ult positioning as a crucial part of this. And again, it kind of reflects back to when we said about gold, of we need to know when ult should be used. You need to start recognizing that sometimes it is worth holding on to if we're not going to get the most benefit out of our ult. Now, that doesn't just mean an Iron Man all of a sudden popping off and then we get this massive 4K and we're just going, cool, quad's there and let's just chill out. It's really focusing on what characters do we have on the board almost. It's seeing that I don't want to sacrifice my queen yet in chess because it's not worth it, but maybe it could be worth it to sacrifice her later in order to get a checkmate. It's taking these small little decisions and being constantly crucial with them to make sure that we are utilising everything that we have at the perfect time. And as we're in the top, I believe 0.5% at this point, it's now going to start becoming really crucial because everybody will know when to do this. He's also said top 500 is very tough to comment on because it is a tournament mode style, which means you have to respect everybody. You have earned their spot that you're in, and every game is absolutely crucial to climb or losing major positioning. So how do we do that? You have to know fully what each hero is capable of and what they're going to do. You have to assume that every single person is going to be communicating in a way that is always purposeful. They know everything there is to know about the game. Some of them are still one tricks and getting themselves to this point, but they know that character so well in and out of what they're capable of doing, especially when you look at the dives, that you're going to find they're nearly impossible to catch. So you really need to be aware of playing around the team, communicating every detail that is essential to know and not just blabbering out any random stuff, and recognising when you have advantage against when you have lost advantage. When to push as a team to maybe take that 1v1, or trying to catch somebody out of position, because you need to assume that the enemy team are going to know when you are. If you're out of position, if you're at anything that is going to be a stress to them, they will let you know. But you need to be willing to adjust to that and also communicate what your intentions are as you are playing. If you're going to start pushing forward, you want to make sure that your tank is with you. If you want to assume that as a tank you're taking space, you need your supports to be there with you. Now, it's very tough again for me to go further into any of these extreme top ones, but I feel like if you've got there, you're probably not looking at me for this video. That's absolutely fine. All I can say is that I hope with any of this advice you take, you can leave any more questions you have in the comments, but please also enjoy the ranked, try and be good to everybody. There's probably a chance you're going to come up against them again on your server, and they'll recognise if you've been a dick, so let's avoid that one. But yeah, enjoy, good luck, and let me know what rank you're aiming for by the end of the season. Take care. Stay golden.